Okay, we haven't done it in a couple weeks because of the draft, but I did want to do a little some thoughts on golf. We have a Go Low podcast. Usually during the majors we just do it solo, but I've kind of been combining it with the football stuff. So if you're listening on the audio version, this will be the second half of the podcast. Obviously, if you're watching this, this will just be talking about golf for a little bit because there's a big golf tournament this week with Scottie Scheffler in it. And I do think there's some pressure to win. We had a big Caddie news today. Max Homa had broken up with Joe Greiner within the last month. And then he goes on the bag 2 weeks ago for JT at RBC and wins. And then today there was an announcement that he's got a new bag. And then we try to do this whenever we do a Go Low at Go Low Pod, because we do the Instagram mailbag for football. I like to include one for golf as well, but I like to separate it. So at Go Low Pod is the Instagram. If you have any golf questions, we will bang out a bunch today. So just fire in those DMs. They're wide open, and fire me any question, any thoughts that you have on your game, on the pro game, on just shit, anything. So fire in there. I did want to start with this. The CJ Cup, the Byron Nelson at TPC Craig Ranch is this week. I mean, these guys, it's one of those tournaments that like me and you would be like the putt-putt version. They're shooting anywhere between 22 and 26 under. A couple years ago, I think Jason Day won at 23 under. So these guys are good at golf. And if the course is not that hard, they will annihilate it. Hell, you give them a hard course and the conditions aren't up, I would say 15 under on a given week feels minimum. I do think there is some pressure with how well Rory's season is going. And he's won 3 times, obviously, including the Masters. And no one's really played better golf this year than Rory McIlroy. When you look at after the Masters last year, there was a ton of momentum for Scottie coming into the PGA Championship. And then he got arrested on Friday. And still he managed to shoot, I think, 67? Or was that Thursday? It was either Thursday or I think it was Friday because he was playing the morning round on Friday when it was raining. But last year he had this magical season. But I do think the majors were a little underwhelming when you factor. Yeah, he won the Masters again. He's probably going to win the Masters like 3 or 4 times in his life. I mean, he doesn't even play that well in the Masters. He top tens. So I mean, this year at one point you look up, it's like, could Scottie get into the playoff? It's like, where is Scottie Scheffler coming from? So it's about playing well in the PGA, in the US Open, and the British, which he feels like the type player that should win 4 or 5 majors and win several of the majors, right? And I don't love betting guys that are super high favorites. It's why I got cold feet with Rory at the Masters, and I'm kicking myself. I thought about going all in, but it's like you get boned pretty quick at plus 650 odds, and then he won it, and you're like, God, well, I regret that one. Scottie Scheffler going in this weekend is plus 280, which is insane. Gambling was, I don't know where Phil was making his golf bets in the early 2000s, but it would have been much more difficult. You had to know the right people like Billy Walters to get involved in those markets. Obviously now it's with our friends at DraftKings, it's very, very easy. And we have data now over the last 3 or 4 years. Like, you are a really good player if you're 10-1 to win a golf tournament. I mean, you're playing against 150 other guys. Scottie Scheffler is currently plus 280. I mean, that's freaking insane. And I kind of like it. He didn't play this event last year. Now, part of it was he won the Masters and then he won the RBC the next week. So he took a couple weeks off before the PGA. I do wonder if he feels desperate's the wrong word, but just in need of like a mojo victory. You look at the strength of field in this tournament, it ain't great. I mean, Jordan Spieth is the second favorite, I think at 18-1. You got guys like Sun JM. Tell me the last time Sun JM won a golf tournament and tell me what that tournament was. You'd be hard-pressed to figure that one out. So, like, this is not Xander and, the normal, and Rory and the normal cast of characters, the JTs, that you're battling this week. I do think Scottie Scheffler wins. He played it 2 years ago. He finished 5th, but he was only 3 shots off the lead when Jason Day won it at 23 under. He finished at 20. I am going to have exposure on Scottie Scheffler to win it. Probably an uncomfortable amount of money because that's what you have to bet to I'm approaching like a football game. what I would bet if I liked a team just straight up against another, that's how I view Scottie Scheffler this weekend against the field. I think he wins plus 280. Again, bold move in golf, but I think that's the play. The NBA 82 game grind is done, and now the real fun begins. The NBA playoffs are here, and it's time for the high stakes drama, clutch moments, and jaw dropping plays. Can't wait. If you're looking to make the playoffs even more exciting, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered as an official sports betting partner of the NBA. From the play-in games all the way through the finals. Now, the time to back your favorite players and teams as they chase glory. All season long, DraftKings has been your go-to spot for NBA player props, and that doesn't stop now. Want to make your playoff experience even more intense? Try placing a bet on your favorite player's performance. Will Curry drop 30? Will LeBron drop 40 or more? It's your call. Ready to place your first bet? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, lock in your bets, and let's make the playoff run unforgettable. Here's something special for first-timers. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Make it a playoff run to remember with DraftKings. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use the code JOHN. That's code JOHN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours. You know, a couple weeks ago, we had been on Justin Thomas for this year. He had been playing really, really good golf. The only reason I wasn't more all over him when it came to the Masters, because I'd been burned by him before. So it was one of those where it's like, I was a big believer in Justin Thomas. I think he had 3 top 10 finishes going into the Masters, but I'd seen that song and dance. And to me, like, he might win it one day. I will not be on that. It just feels like one of those course fits that is just not for him. But like the way he was playing, it's like this guy's going to win a golf tournament. Now, did I think he was going to win at the RBC? I don't know. That tournament can be weird. Obviously, it was a loaded field beside Rory. And, it turned out to be basically a match play event down the stretch between him and Andrew Novak, who I guess is pretty online, and a lot of people like him and seems like a really, really good player. But JT wins in extra holes, hits a long putt, as he told Joe Greiner when he was walking up. I've never really hit a long walk-off putt to win a golf tournament. And he just won his 16th PGA event, which is pretty insane. I mean, he's already multiple majors, 15-plus wins. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer if his career ended today. Kind of when you look at the big picture, it's not like he's 42 years old. He's 32. If he can get to 20-plus wins and win another major, like pretty historic stuff by Justin Thomas. Really cool moment. And a guy who now, I don't think there was that much question before the RBC. I mean, 100% lock Ryder Cup. I think he was one of the more polarizing guys 2 years ago, and rightfully so, the way that all went down. Now it's like you want Justin Thomas on this team. I think the only question mark is like, what about his boy? What about his running mate? Like, is Jordan Spieth still good? Justin Thomas definitely is. But the big news that weekend was his caddy was out because he had a back injury. And he wins with Joe Greiner, Max Homa's old guy, Scottsdale guy. And after the event, because I thought, well, I don't know the relationship between JT and his current caddy, but anytime you win for the first time in years, it's a really big deal, especially in the fashion in which he won it. And as he hits the putt in South Carolina, you see Greiner, kind of behind him, throw the pin. It was a sweet moment. It was cool. And I just assumed, like, I just bet that he goes with this guy moving forward. Wouldn't blame him. And then he announces, like, no, like, my guy's healthy. He'll be back, and Griner's not going to be my full-time caddy. And then today, sometimes when I'm driving around, I'm a big Sirius XM guy. Love my Mad Dog radio. Like my Channel 85, which a lot of times like Pro Football Talk. 86 sometimes, just NBA radio, but it's got some old heads that just talk a bunch of shit. PGA radio. And I listen to it a lot, especially when Sleaze and Colt Knost. I think my time is 10 to noon. Maybe it's 9 to 11. I don't know the exact time, but I feel like I'm in the car a lot when those guys are on. And Colt came out and said, like, I got some crazy breaking news. And Drew was like, what? And he was like, Colin Morikawa has fired his caddy. And he is going to hire Joe Greiner full-time. Now, Max Homa and Colin Morikawa, 2 Cal Bears. They are different ages. They didn't play together, but 2 years ago, once Dustin left for Live, they became a combination in the team events, right? So they played together in the President's Cup. So Morikawa, who clearly just has a relationship because they played together, or I mean, they went to the same college. So that just kind of bonds you. I don't care who you are. Then they started playing together in these team events, and obviously Max for a period of time was one of the better players right there with Colin. They just know each other pretty well. And when you see this, it's like I get it. Sometimes in business, you got to be pretty cold blooded. And I understand Colin hasn't won in a couple years, but he has been really good and he has been making a ton of money. And the success that he had with JJ, his current caddy, well, I guess no longer, was pretty unreal. I mean, they won a couple majors together. They have made so much freaking money. And I would imagine more information on this eventually leaks or comes out. But whenever you see a headline of like they have decided to part ways, that feels like when the interviewer asked Belichick. It's like Robert Kraft said you were fired, and Belichick was like, I wasn't fired, I quit. It was mutual. Like no Bill, you were fired. They paid you to go away, which is a badge of honor in society. You were paid $20 million not to work, aka the American dream. But you don't quit or leave Colin Morikawa's bag. So it was clear, Morikawa, who's been in the news a little this year, like fighting the media and refusing to talk. I mean, this is business. So I don't listen. You got to make only truly that relationship. But I think most people would say that unless you have the inside knowledge, would be like, this is a pretty cold blooded move. Even if you could argue like Joe Greiner, probably one of the better caddies, on the PGA Tour, and a guy that most people thought 2 weeks ago, like JT, just hire him full time. So like in a vacuum, not that crazy. You would want Joe Greiner on your bag, but when you factor in like how much success those two guys have had, pretty nuts. But I guess when you're in the caddy world, that's kind of you're at the whim of the player. And if he ever has an issue with you, you think about wherever you work and whatever you do for a living, how, you're just careful the way you treat and your reaction to whoever your, superior is, the guy that owns the company, whoever hired you. I can't even imagine the superiority that the player holds over the caddy, even if you become really, really good friends. And obviously, we have some of those. We had that with Max and Joe. I think you have that with Joel Damon and Gino. But at the end of the day, like Stevie Williams, I'm pretty sure it was Tiger's best man at his wedding. And Stevie was like, after Tiger took that 7-iron to the face, like he fired me. It's Bones and Phil had a pretty ugly public breakup. I mean, these things happen in this sport, and it's pretty crazy, especially now with how much money is on the line for the player. Let's get some questions. At GoloPod is the Instagram. Here we go. Not a paid sponsor, just a Bryson fan. He's tearing up this course right now. First time really tuning in. This was, when did this happen? This was this week. The broadcast is really solid. No commercial, shotgun start with virtually no interruptions. Just major winner to major winner with Faraday commentating. All to say this. This thing is a lot better watched than I thought. Give it a try, side by side with the website. I've watched it. Like, just in terms of if a guy's playing well, it can be enjoyable to just watch a high level player play golf, right? Whether it's Joaquin Niemann, whether it's Bryson DeChambeau, whether it's Phil, whoever. DJ when he first got there, Rom. They're good at golf, playing golf on television. Like, it's cool to watch. My issue with it, and it's the same thing for the PGA Tour. The reason I watch the PGA Tour is because, like, there are real stakes. Like, winning a tournament gets you into the majors. Winning a tournament, if you were Andrew Novak and you beat Justin Thomas 2 weeks ago in the RBC, has real implications. Joaquin Niemann wins again. What does that mean? My issue with this, like, why have I been glued to the NBA playoffs? Because there's a lot on the line. There's a history, but like if the Lakers and LeBron and Luka lose in the first round, we understand what that means. When you win on Live, I just think it means nothing. That's my issue. The outcome, yes, them playing individual golf. Like if Rom plays a hole and he's on, it will look incredible. I think I saw a clip online. He drove a hole that was 400 yards. Like he's unreal. Like he is when he's on, he's I'm sure still one of the best players in the world. But like whether he wins at Live or finishes sixth or third or 10th, it doesn't matter. Like they're just playing for a lot of money, which is cool. But like I could get my buddies and convince someone to play for a couple $100 a hole or $1,000. I could find someone in Scottsdale that would play me $1,000 a hole. I mean, it's just that's essentially what they're doing at a really, really high level for millions of dollars. Where in the PGA Tour, like they're a real, like if Andrew Novak wins that tournament, like he's into all the majors. Is it just me or is the US Ryder Cup headed for trouble? I realize it's early, but I look at the probable teams this year and I don't see how we can match up with the Europe. The only advantage that I can find is that we play at home. To me, their lineup is much better at the top and much deeper. They have Rory, Hovland, who's playing better, Ludwig, and fill out with other players like Shane Lowry, Rose, Hatton, Rahm, Fleetwood. To me, that's going to destroy any team that we put out. I would say that for the first time in a long time, it feels like this is going to be really, really difficult at home. Because if Rory maintains this play all year long, if Rahm can just find, and listen, the live things out the window, these guys are going to be on the team, can find any form. Listen, if Sergio has a good year, like he will be in the mix. Like you said, I mean, Justin Rose has played in a million of these. Fleetwood is just made to play in these type events. Yeah, their team's stacked. There is no arguing that their team is really freaking good. And our team at the top is also really good. Xander healthy, he should be fine. Obviously, Scottie, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa. But like it's not quite the same of like I think Bryson's got to be on the team. Which, last time it was Kepka. This year it's going to be Bryson, which is the right move. But where it gets difficult is like, who's Bryson playing with? That's where it gets complicated. Where a lot of these guys, pretty seamless transition. Historically, it was like Morikawa just play with Dustin Johnson, and it went really well. Right? Justin Thomas played with Jordan Spieth, and it went really well. Was Jordan Spieth going to be on this team? To me, the coolest part about the Ryder Cup is that Keegan's the captain. So, and you know how serious he's going to take it, but he's got a big challenge. I saw the President's Cup captains were named today. Um, Jeff Ogilvy and Snedeker. I see. I've wanted to introduce myself. I've seen Ogilvy at the gym a million times. Looks like a golfer, in his like 50s, tall, skinny. Looks like he'd just go out and shoot like 67. Always doing stretches. One takeaway from the Masters I had was how popular Rory actually is. Between the people pulling for him on the grounds and the amount of congratulations he received from non-golf athletes and celebrities, I have buddies I didn't even know followed golf reposting stuff about Rory. People keep saying Bryson is so popular, which he obviously is, but I don't think it's even close to Rory. Wonder if you felt the same way watching. Well, the advantage, like, I've seen this, right? The NBA is back. Look at the ratings. Well, yeah. LeBron James plays on the Lakers, the biggest brand, and their numbers are huge. If the Lakers are in the playoffs, and especially when they got a star, and now they got Luka, a lot of people are going to watch. It's like you put the Yankees in the playoffs or the Dodgers, everyone's watching. Well, who's the second most famous player? And honestly, it's like 1A and 1B. Steph freaking Curry. What do both have in common? LeBron James has been in my life. I'm 40 years old since I was a teenager. Me and him are the same exact age and same class in high school. Steph Curry has been in my life since I was in college, and he was at Davidson taking down Kansas. So part of becoming like stardom is longevity. We have a lot of guys, and I don't mean it like this. Some of the biggest songs of our lifetime, I think, would fall under one hit wonders, and those are a really big deal. But the biggest bands and most famous musicians are ones that have countless hits. The Rolling Stones are the Rolling Stones because they have a big catalog, and they've also been around for 50 years. Metallica, a lot of big time songs, also been around since the 80s. There are bands that are big right now, just like rap artists or country music stars, that if you haven't been around as long, you're not going to be as big as other people in your genre that are Dr. Dre and Garth Brooks. So Rory has been in sporting people's vernacular for 15 plus years. And one thing I think we naturally love is when you fail. Part of, and I think this helps Lamar and Josh Allen's stardom going up against Patrick Mahomes, is their inability to beat the guy. Like that adds to the story. That's all this stuff is it's reality television show. And as I've learned with Maria, Bravo stars can make up to 50 grand an episode. If you have 15 episodes a season, you do the math. You can make a lot of money. There is nothing like professional athlete money. I was talking to a buddy, uh, a cousin of mine who lives in Fresno. Derek Carr and David Carr have both moved back to Fresno. Derek lived in Vegas. Fresno has some really successful businessmen, people that have made a lot of money. Uh, People don't talk about Fresno, California like they do like San Francisco or Palo Alto or Los Angeles. But there are some people that are really successful people there. But most of them are business owners, farmers, or other business owners. There aren't many like W-2 employees that have made 200 plus million dollars in his life. That's what Derek Carr has made in his career. And at the end of this season, he will have eclipsed like I think like $230 million playing quarterback. And for the majority of his career, he's never been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL. He's had a couple individual seasons, but on the aggregate, he is not. So the it's like this reality television show where there's all this money on the line and all these competitors and everyone chasing the money. It just makes it really fascinating. And that's what, like, when you're watching Rory, like his failures along with his successes, he has just been in the world of professional sports at a really, really high level. I mean, for almost 20 years. I think he's 35 years old. He started winning big time tournaments at like 20 or 21 years old. It's the thing with Tiger Woods. Like, Tiger was so famous so fast. And when you do that, LeBron James, Bryce Harper, Michael Jordan hit the game-winning shot in the national championship in college. So like when you do that, you become in the mix. I think he was a freshman too, 1981 or 1982. Corner on the baseline, kicked it to Michael, boom, nothing but net. So you're just like in the conversation. If given the opportunity, would you rather play around with Tiger Woods at Pine Valley or play with a buddy at Augusta, assuming content not able to be shot at each course? If no content's available, I don't even. You just have to choose Augusta National because Pine Valley, which I hope, keep my fingers crossed, one day I'll be able to play. Who knows? I wouldn't count on it, but it does feel attainable, I guess. Where it's like Augusta, been around a lot of successful people that love golf that have never sniffed getting on the course there. So to be able to say, I mean, that's just there aren't many better conversation starters than like I played Augusta. I played the Masters. Obviously, you don't mean playing during the Masters. I know what you're saying, but you can have that conversation with anybody. Most people in my life that if they're not big golf people, they wouldn't even know what Pine Valley is. So I think that's without hesitation Augusta. Now, if you said I could film, because Augusta wouldn't let you film no matter what, but I could film the Tiger Woods thing, then listen, I'm a businessman. We got mouths to feed in this family, and I would say Tiger. But no cameras, no beside maybe like one still photo, it would be Augusta for sure. Question, I'd probably have to choose my brother. We'd have to have a historic round of gambling on that day. Me and him have done, I think, like $50 a hole, maybe. Even when you do that though, and if you're similar golfers, unless you do like carryovers, it's pretty easy to basically not lose that much. Question for the pod. I firmly believe now that Rory has completed the Grand Slam. He won a major for the first time in a decade and got the monkey off his back. That Now he can go on a run, rattle off another major this year, win 4 or 5 more tournaments, and surpass Scottie as the world number one. Thoughts? I think the world number, let's face it, the world rankings are kind of stupid now. With the live guys all gone, not really playing in sanctioned events, uh, it's hard to kind of quantify it. You just kind of know, like, who are the best players in the world? Scotty, Rory, Bryson. Xander, until the rib injury, you would have said him too. But, like, that's the crew right now. And you just know it when you see it. And like this year, right now, Rory McIlroy is the best player. He's not the number one player in the world, but in 2025, he's clearly the best player. That can change, but like that's a fact. And so I don't know if he can surpass him, how many tournaments he'd have to win. Like, what if Scottie also wins a tournament or two? He'd probably maintain that spot. But to me, if Rory wins, I mean, if he were to win another major this year, even if he doesn't win another tournament and wins two elevated events and two majors, I think that would be better than the version of, and assuming then he would win the FedEx Cup, though they have changed kind of the format on that. I refuse to like look too much into it. Had too much going on last week, but that thing's going to look a lot different this year, I think, or maybe it's for 2026. But yeah, I mean, I think Rory can swing back for sure. In fairness, like Scotty legitimately was the best player in the world last year. I know Xander got hot in the two majors, but on the totality, it wasn't really that close. What's going on with Theegala? Been following him over the last couple years and really thought after last year he was primed for a breakout year and has really struggled. Any thoughts? I'm with you. As a gambler, I take him in some parlays, and he's really fucked me. I mean, there's no way he's blown a couple. I think like 15 to 20 to 1 parlays that would have won me a couple grand over the course of this year because he has been bad. The way I do this is I take a couple screenshots so it's easy for me to. So I kind of looked after I saw your question. He's never been a very accurate driver of the golf ball. So why when he almost won at TPC Scottsdale? Listen, I play there. Um, I was actually going to go out today and hit some balls, but you could spray it around. It's not. I wouldn't call it exactly the Hilton Head. Like you got to be super accurate off the tee. And looking at some of his statistics, he's not accurate off the tee at all. And when you're not accurate off the tee, like you have problems. But like one thing that he used to be is like incredible around the greens. And I don't know. I think sometimes in golf, a guy can look good and there's not as much pressure on him. And then we go, he's going to take the next step when it's really hard to do that. And I would imagine you start feeling that as a player, right? You come on the scene, it's like, God, I'm pretty good. And listen, he's Googled Theegala in college. I mean, this guy was a blue chipper, like a stud. So the equivalent of Theegala in the NFL, like he's a top 10 pick. But, sometimes after you really settle down on the PGA, I do think it becomes difficult because then you got expectations. People are looking at you. You start playing in some feature groups. He's a fan favorite. He's very likable. People are pulling for you. And I think the difficult part about golf, like in football, if I'm struggling, like I could just be like, I'm gonna go fucking hit someone hard. Like, I'm just gonna go make a play, right? And in golf, you can't. Like the harder you try, sometimes the worse you are. And again, I'm guessing, but I'm just a fan of the guy. And he's been awful. I think when you spray it around a little bit too, and this is like Justin Thomas, I think one way to really validate like an awesome season is to truly be in the mix, either at the PGA, which he's obviously had a lot of success, or the British. I don't really like him at the U.S. Open because he's not that accurate off the tee. So this year he's putted a lot different, better. But like I trust his iron game. If he's in the middle of the fairway, he's as good as anybody. Around the green, I mean, he's just a wizard with his wedges, and if he's putting well, like he's a really good. But off the tee, he's just not that accurate. And I think sometimes when you're a little guy and you're swinging out of your shoes, even with today's technology, like the ball can fly all over the place. Like part of why is Ludwig not that inaccurate off the tee? Because it doesn't look like he's swinging that hard. I would say the same thing for DJ. In the peak of his career, like he was really accurate off the tee. Well, it's like he's built like a Carson Palmer. I mean, he technically is swinging hard relative to everyone else, but it does not look like he's trying that hard. Where when you watch Justin Thomas and it's a 500-yard par four, he, like me or you, is swinging out of our shoes. In the margin for error, I mean, why Tiger early on in his career spray the ball all over the place? No one has ever swung as hard. Now, Theegala is taller, but it does feel like he sprays the ball a lot, looking at the statistics. Okay, last question. Bryson is taking quite a bit of heat for his post-round interview after the final round of the Masters. In regards to the comments made about Rory not speaking to him the entire day. Even Rich Eisen had a segment about it with Shipnuck where he blasted him a little bit. I think the whole thing is overblown. The guy had to talk to the media right after shooting 75 in the final round of the Masters. I'm sure he was pissed about his performance, and considering he was in the mix to start the day, the way I see it, nothing Bryson said implied the way he was upset about the fact that Rory didn't talk to him. He just said that he didn't. This is a nothing burger story. Do you have any thoughts on the situation? Well, I think I'm with you. In the one thing where Morikawa isn't totally wrong is when you just get off the golf course. Usually, especially the way Augusta does it, they have that interview. If you're not going in with Van Pelt, you just interview there right there on the grass, and that's where Bryson did his. Is you basically just walk off and you talk immediately. And it's one thing when you win and your daughter or your girlfriend or your mom or it's a fucking party. When you shoot 75 and you just go, I just blew the Masters because you're right. He's just kind of not in a great mood. And I'm with you. I didn't see the question that was asked. Did he volunteer that? Or it's like, what were your interactions with him like? One, Tiger Woods became a legend, not just because he was kicking everyone's ass, but a lot like Michael Jordan was the way he kicked everyone's ass. He didn't have any friends on the PGA Tour. He didn't talk with anyone on the PGA Tour. He didn't fraternize with anybody. Tony Finau famously said in 2019, like it was like hole 3 or 4. Tony was like trying to just break the ice on Sunday. Like, Tiger, how are the kids? Tiger basically said fine and never even looked at him and kept walking. Tony's like, I'm not saying another word to this guy. And it was a throwback. And historically, like, that's the way Tiger became the most famous golfer of all time operating. And Rory, who does feel a little more chit chatty, like, what's he supposed to say to Bryson? Especially given their history last year. Like, this was a big time moment for the guy's career. And unlike Bryson, I don't want to say make or break Rory, but there was way more on the line for Rory than Bryson. And so I think it's stupid that we even like, sometimes people in golf don't want to talk. Sometimes like Jimmy Butler talking with Dylan Brooks, like guys talk shit to each other. It's like, welcome to Draymond Green and Jalen Green screaming at each other the other day. It's like, this is sports, guys. This isn't like an interaction at the local FedEx. It's like everyone just calm down, be nice to each other. Like this, emotions are high. People like spend a lot of time preparing for this is their test, the game, and sometimes you're pissed off, you know, and everyone handles that better. I'm with you. I think it's Rory didn't owe him to talk to him. I don't even think Bryson is like offended by it. What does Bryson want to bullshit about? What, like Rory's kids, Rory's how he overcame the potential divorce and got back together? Like, what did they go to marriage counseling? Like, is that what he's asking him about? Is he asking him about like, hey man, how many times you YouTube my bunker shot at Pinehurst? So I'm with you. Total. No one cares. That actually matters. Um, and I don't blame Rory, and I think he needs to channel more of that. Just become a complete asshole on Sundays. It's one thing Thursday or Friday, be a little weird, I would say, but Sunday at the Masters with his felt like the entire weight of the world on Rory's shoulders. Now listen, Bryson had a little house money, right? If Bryson beats him, it would be like the ultimate ownage of a guy. Like, this is insane. Bryson beat you again. So I think part of it was, I think a huge element was that. And like if Rory had played with Shane Lowry, yeah, they'd probably talk. If Rory had played with Xander, they'd probably bullshitting a little. And when you say bullshitting, like you're just standing next to a guy for 5 hours, you're just eventually going to say some stuff. I think this one, like totally, I don't think most of us would have said a word either.